Reddit making its public debut on the New York Stock Exchange. Investors, well, they're on the edge of their seats. It's the first big social media IPO since 2019. Later on this morning, we are going to be hearing from Reddit CEO Steve Huffman. He will join us right after that first trade live from the floor of the New York Stock Exchange. But right now, we've got team coverage for you on this story this morning. Our very own Josh Schafer and Ines Ferré are covering the public debut here for us. Ines, I know you're closely following where it priced last night, what that could indicate in terms of the opening here this morning. What are you seeing?
Yeah, so they priced their shares at the high end of the expected range at $34 a share. That range was between $31 and $34. So they raised $748 million. This values the company at around $6.4 billion, down from that private round funding back in 2021, where the value was around $10 billion. But look, revenue last year, that increased about 21% year over year to $804 million. Their net loss, it is not profitable yet. Their net loss is at $90.8 million. That's narrower than the prior year. I will note that advertising is the majority of their revenue, and they stated that numerous times throughout their S1 filing. But they say advertising is rapidly evolving. They're in their early phases of growing this business, even though the company has been around for about 19 years, and that they're trying to develop ways for Redditors to make money on the platform, for users to be creating avatars, for content that will generate revenue in some way for Redditors.
Yeah, absolutely. We know that, and as you bring up the profitability aspect of this, they had $716.6 million in debt, accumulated deficit rather, coming into the start of this year. Josh, you're focused in on the AI piece of this, though, and that's something that the company also talked about.
That saves all profitability problems, Brad.
Of course.
Yeah, they're hoping that. They're banking on it.
If you have AI, it's fine, right? Yeah. It doesn't matter.
Yep.
But in all seriousness, it is interesting to see sort of the AI pitch that Reddit is building here. It's something that they think is going to be a different source of revenue. And Ness had pointed out that 98% of their revenue right now comes from ads. This is sort of their pitch to investors that they can build out a different model and be a real AI company, given their database, given how big it is. But it's something that when I was talking to IPO experts, they think that this is just a little bit of the pitch of the moment right now, too. Mm-hmm. And this is something that you are going to see a lot of companies do. I was interesting, Jay Ritter, a professor at University of Florida that studies IPOs, he actually told me directly, he said one private company that's going through fundraising right now had their financial advisor tell them, you've got to have AI in your business plan. That's what investors want to hear right now. If you don't have it, it's going to make it much harder for you to raise funds. That's very interesting to hear an advisor telling a private company that basically you got to find some way to put it in here.
Yeah.
You have to have how you're using this technology
also,
in there.
You don't even have to look any further than what happened with Astera Labs yesterday, right? We saw a massive spike in their first day of public trading. Obviously, the AI tie there, but investors can't seem to get enough of it. And it's also very similar to what we've heard on earnings calls, too. Just in terms of so many executives, it seemed like at least, felt the need to mention AI in order to reassure any sort of doubt out there that they have some initiative, that they're thinking about it, that they are going to or plan to incorporate it into their business model. Whether or not it's going to be really able to change or help the fundamentals of Reddit's business, that's still very much a show me story.
Yeah, and they do talk about data licensing. They mentioned that quite a bit throughout the S1 filing. I mean, they're basically saying we can help with our data with these machine language learning programs for AI, and that they can license their data. The question is, how are they going to negotiate that with the privacy of their users? And once you're a public company, you have to expose a lot about your company and how you're generating revenue. So this is going to be interesting for them, how they do that.
Well, and I was just going to say what that means for the stock, right? And sort of when we think about what that means for the IPO market here, the one thing that Ines highlighted that we didn't harp too much on is the valuation coming down significantly. Mm-hmm. And that is why a lot of companies are not coming public right now. People in the IPO market are talking a lot about that. Reddit essentially taking what you could call a down round right now, coming to market at 6.4 billion or 6.5 versus 10. Same thing happened with ARM Holdings. Same thing happened with Instacart. A lot of these companies, they had higher valuations at their last funding round, and that's part of why you're seeing this backlog in the IPO market. Maybe if the stock reaction is positive, that sort of helps loosen you up a little bit and give people a little bit more confidence.
Well, do you want to see a massive stock reaction on the first day, especially if that implies that you left money on the table in the deal as well here? And on your point, Ines, the company did have to point out in that S-1 filing our massive corpus of conversational data, and then additionally knowledge is what makes us unique. We believe that its value will continue to grow over time as user-generated data continues to grow. It's a matter of how comfortable those users are knowing that it's going to be aggregated into some of those language learning models as well here. Ines and Josh, thank you so much for teeing up what we're going to be watching here today as Reddit goes public. We're going to hear from our very own Brian Sazzi along the way as well, live from the New York Stock Exchange at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. He's got the Reddit CEO, Steve Huffman. You do not want to miss that.